What is up, my friends? Today we are going to talk about some cold water craw baits. I'm going to talk about 3 of my favorite baits that are craw baits, crawfish imitations that work amazing in super cold water. So it's just the time of the year. We got to fish slow. We got to fish a little different. So if you'd like to join in the convo, let's have some fun. Let's go. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle.
Oh, what a stud.
Yeah. Look at that.
That was sick.
Cheers, my friends. Happy Sunday. All right, guys, some breaking news. What's new this week at the Hookup Tackle?
What a beautiful coastal fish.
Look at that.
Look at that gut on that.
That's a nice fish.
Welcome back. I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, the Tackle Otaku on Instagram. I wasn't doing this because I thought it was delicious. I'm freezing.
Oh, you're freezing.
It is
Got it.
cold, even inside.
Yeah.
Right? It's in the 50 somethings.
That's great.
By the way, Jeffrey the King behind the camera, the one, the only.
Yes, sir.
The king of wintertime fishing.
Yeah, buddy.
While you are out there heaving that big bait,
Huge lure.
me and
Yeah.
all my friends,
Yeah.
we want to catch some fish.
Right.
So we're going to fish crawfish imitators.
That's a good point, because you know what? I was out there yesterday, and I'm throwing this giant trout imitating lure.
Yep.
And I'm watching those diving birds just eating up craws
Yep.
the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, maybe I should throw
A crawfish imitating swim bait.
And I really pondered it.
Yeah.
And I kept yucking that swim bait. And you know what? I didn't get a single bite.
Ah, shocker. Yeah. So this time of the year, fish feed on so many different things, but crawfish are kind of at their easiest time to eat because just like a bass's metabolism is slow, so is a crawfish's metabolism. They are not scurrying around and moving all over the place. In fact, I mean, Jeff, how many times have we been to like Michigan right after ice out, and you look down and they look like they're dead?
Yeah.
Right? They're just like laying in the mud, praying to God that sun is going to hit them and war them. You know what I mean? It's like, are they all dead?
Yeah, you poke them and
you
they
like poke them and then
slowly
they
move
just
off.
like slowly move. It's like, oh my God.
God.
So, I mean, if you're a bass or a diving bird, it is prime time to easily get them because they want to be out so that they can get whatever warmth they need, but they're moving very, very slowly. So they're at a prime time to be eaten. Right?
Yep.
So let's talk about some imitations and some craw patterns that I love to throw and that are super highly effective as that water temp cools down. So we're going to start right here. This was our number 3 selling best bait of the year, which is pretty dope. This is from Megabass. This is the Megabass Sleeper Craw. Now, what's been interesting about this is when this bait came out, it was kind of spring-ish when it launched. But we've had this bait for several years. If many of you have been paying attention to some of the stories that Jeff and I fling around, or you listen to, I think maybe our first podcast, you would have heard a story about Jeff being stuck on a Greyhound several years ago in Michigan on a Megabass trip. And back then, you weren't authorized to see the top secret stuff.
Not cool enough.
So that's why you ended up on that fucked up journey to begin with. All because of this little sucker, actually.
That's the bane of my existence.
Yes. So even though many of you haven't had any experience with this guy yet in cold water, I can tell you it's deadly. So Sleeper Craw, if you've been living under a rock and you have no idea what this is an elastomer plastic bait from Megabass that has an internal harness, hook, weight. It's all basically just one piece. So it's kind of like a jig almost to a certain extent, where it's built in there. And this bait, as it falls horizontally, and as it lands, it's going to stand up with that elastomer plastic, and those claws are going to lift, and it just has a very lifelike movement to it. Now, what I like about this bait is it's a bait that, because it's weighted down here on the bottom, so it's keeled, this weight actually comes all the way through to there. So this whole piece right here is like a special triangular shaped weight right there. That will keep it keeled, so you can move this very slow and it stays moving in an upright, kind of rocky position, right? But it's going to maintain its angle. It's going to keep crawling as if it was a crawdad that was scurrying backwards. When you pause, it lifts up and those claws lift up, and so it gets some movement up, right? And you can kind of just shake your rod tip a little bit and those claws will kind of pulse a little bit, but it's that slow, methodical drag. And with that weight being enclosed around the plastic, we find that it has the ability to kind of crawl up and over smaller sized rock, maybe a little bit better than like an exposed piece of lead or a wobble head or something that love to just dig in, right? So, not a whole else left to say about it, except you just got to throw it and trust in it and fish it very, very slow. Now in the summer, or in the spring, we were finding that we were catching them super good, kind of ripping it. Like you needed to kind of like pop it off and then let it fall back down, right? So you got that retrieve and then that kind of horizontal, lifelike fall. This time of the year, you could try it, right? I mean, you could try just dragging, and then maybe just give it one pop so it just kind of lifts off and then falls back down. But really, we find that slower drag, almost forgetting that it's a single bait, you're almost kind of just dragging almost like you would like a Carolina rig, just super, super slow, and just letting it move through all those little rocks is just an absolutely deadly way to go. So there's bait number one, sleeper craw. Bait number two is another relatively new bait to the market, not necessarily new to us, and that is from Raid, and this is the Raid Zariganist. Now this came out kind of summer, I would say, probably early summer this year. This is a super cool crawdad bait that comes, let me get it out of the package if I can open it. They're going to come 3 to a pack. Now this is not an elastomer. This first one, Sleeper Craw elastomer. So that's just going to be that ultra durable, kind of like a Z-Man type plastic, right? Store it away from other plastics. If you store it with any other plastic, it's going to melt. Okay, so I just recommend keeping the clamshell just like a mag draft. When you're done, cut it off, put it back in the clamshell, you're safe. Okay. Here's the Zariganist. The Zariganist is, again, kind of a pretty lifelike craw imitation. What's nice is that they come also in these clamshells. Now, this is a bait that you can rig multiple ways. It's got a solid tail section here. It's got a hollow head, has hollow claws, and these legs are designed to quiver on the fall. Now, if you rig it correctly, this thing will fall horizontally, and as it's falling, those legs are just quivering back and forth on the fall. Just super, super lifelike, almost like a Senko falling. And then as it moves just like a craw. It will lift just a touch, not quite like an elastomer, it's like boink, right? It's just a touch of lift from any air that is trapped in the heads or in those claws. A 4/0 weighted hook is the recommended hook. So this is a Ryugi Pierce weighted hook. This is the hook they recommend with it. Of course, you can use whatever you want. I prefer going with a lighter weight on this guy. This is a bait that I'm gonna fish shallow. Okay, if I'm trying to get out into deeper water, I think I'd rather throw the Sleeper Craw. But this is one when they're really shallow and they're really kind of lethargic, they're not really chasing, they want something supernatural, then this would be a super dope option for you guys. Let me rig this up and I'll show you exactly what this is going to look like. So there you go. So there is the bait rigged on the 4/0 Ryugi. There is a hook slot both bottom and top. So, you know, when those fish strike, there's plenty of hook left to get them. But that's it. So I'm going to fish this in a combination similar to the Sleeper Craw where I'm just dragging it very slowly, and as it drags, those legs are kind of quivering and moving, and the pinchers are lifting up. And then every once in a while, I want to kind of come to the top of like a rock or up through a bush and then fall out. And when it falls out, it's gonna fall horizontally just like a Senko, and as it falls, those legs are gonna quiver, and that's when you get most of the strikes like that. So tons of colors: green pumpkins, scupper nongs, you know, they get some with chartreuse, some with orange. So really fun bait to fish. That is the Zariganist from Raid. That's number 2. All right, quick little tip. I did mention that the Zariganist comes in a clamshell. You know, one of the challenges when you're buying baits like this is you don't want to just like, all right, now you cut it off, throw it down, let it get all jacked up, right? If you just make a little slit in the bottom of that clamshell, then this guy will fit right back in there. All right, you can put your bait right back in the clamshell the way it came, and then you can push that hook up through that slit, and then you can keep, and everything will be stored. If I can get that tentacle back in there. There we go. And then now you've got everything stored back in that clamshell, and it'll keep it all straight. That way you don't have anything kinking or looking funky on there. Just a little tip. All right. And the third and final one, this bait has been on the market for quite some time. It's an amazing jig trailer. You guys can flip this, but we're gonna talk about a little special rigging on this that's super highly effective when the fish are on it. This is from OSP. This is the OSP Dolive Craw. Now they make this in 4 different sizes: a 2-inch, a 3-inch. Today I'm talking specifically about the 4-inch and 5-inch size. These are the sizes that I like to throw this time of the year. I find that in the winter, fish aren't afraid of size. They'll eat the biggest thing you can throw at them. It's more about looking lifelike, looking natural, and then getting something to trigger. Whether it's deflection, falling off a rock, or they just can't stand it being in their face any longer, they eat. So the 4 and 5 are going to match, for me, a little closer to the size that I think they're seeing out there in nature. So, Dolive Craw is a very simple craw. It's very lifelike. It doesn't have a lot of movement. You know, I don't want to throw something like a, you know, a rage craw or something that's got a lot of like this kind of movement this time of the year. I'm going to save that for spring when I put on a swim jig or fish it kind of through grass, and I want, you know, a lot of that fluttery motion. This time of the year, I want it to be super natural. I just want it to kind of move on its own and kind of move as one unit. That's going to be a lot more lifelike to what those fish are seeing. Now, you could certainly put this on a jig, drag it around, you could text rig it, do whatever. But a technique that's super overlooked is the Neko rig with a craw. Now, Neko rig, I would say, is overlooked, period, in the USA. It's probably the #1 finesse technique in Japan, day in and day out. I mean, pretty much everybody lives by the Neko rig. But in the US, nobody really gives it the attention it deserves. But on a small little crawbait like this is not something that many fish are going to see, right? So you're gonna need a nail weight. You're gonna need some type of, you know, hook to Neko rig. I like the Talisman hook from Ryugi, but you could use, you know, Decoy makes a great one, Owner makes a great one, Gami makes a great one, all kinds of different hooks that you can do. Essentially, all you're gonna do with this guy is you are going to take your weight, and you can adjust the weight based on what you need to do. This is a Zappu weight. This is a 13th ounce. That's fine. You know, I'm not overly concerned with the size of the weight. I want it to get to the bottom. So once it's at the bottom, I'm just going to fish it very slowly. So the nail weight's going to insert into the craw like so. And then the Dolive Craw has a great, easy to rig kind of back where there's little grooves. Get a hook here. So on the back, there's little like hook placements. So you can utilize these placements for, you know, when you're Texas rigging it, you get the hook coming out, but you could also utilize it when you're Neko rigging. That way you can put it in the same place each time. So I'm typically going like between the first and the second little groove right there. And you're just going to hook this bad boy in. And then I come out that second groove, and that's it. And now what you have is you have a craw that's going to fall like this, and that you can just kind of drag around on the bottom. And as you're dragging it, these claws are solid. They're not air, so they're not going to like lift straight up. But what they do is they independently kind of move on each other, so you get just a fluid crawl look, a very lifelike look. And again, if it comes up and over and falls, then you get just a little bit of a thump, but it's not like a super intrusive swim that they're not used to. It's an incredibly lifelike deal. Fish smoke it. You guys will catch a gazillion fish on it if you try it. So that is bait number 3 from OSP, the Dolive Craw. All right, really quick before I go, I want to talk rods very quickly with you guys. You know, I know it probably seems like, hey, I'm throwing a craw, I want just a fast action, you know, jig and worm rod, and you can certainly do that, right? But my experience this time of the year, or really, I would say not necessarily the time of the year, but with these baits, with a craw bait that you want to have more control over and to move very slowly and methodically, it's kind of important to have the right rod. And if you have been paying any attention to like the sleeper craw, for instance, if you go on to forums, you'll see a lot of guys that say, dude, I'm just absolutely destroying on jacket, I'm land every fish. And then you see equal parts of guys saying, man, that bait sucks, I lose every fish, the hookup ratio is terrible. And all of that, well, I don't know about all of it, but most of that is due to using the wrong rod. And this was something that took us a while to figure out with this bait as well. You know, instinctively you think, okay, it's a bait, it's got a single hook, let me just throw it on my, you know, 894 or my FMJ or something that's just a fast bottom contact rod. But you will lose a ton of fish on these baits if you're doing that, because you're responding too quick, you're hitting them too fast, and you're also not getting the right movement out of the bait, because a small little movement, that rod's super fast, it's pulling it back really far. So instead of your craw just, you know, lightly kind of, you know, moving very slow, you're giving it these huge, like 2 and 3 foot movements. It's just not natural in the winter. So I like a rod that's a little bit slower this time of the year. My go-to for these is the dark sleeper rod. Okay, so this is a rod that's probably the 4th slowest in the jig rod. So it kind of goes like, you know, BMG, FMJ, X bites, then dark sleeper. This is the action that you want. It's more of a swim jig action, more of a dragging type action, but that slower rod helps in the movement of the craw, and it helps in your land ratio. It's gonna hook them way, way better, okay? So this is my go-to. If you want alternatives to that, you know, in NRX, this is where I would go to an MBR instead of a JWR. So Megabass rod instead of a jig and worm rod. The same principle. It's just going to slow it down. So the rod's going to bend more through the middle. So an 844 MBR would be a perfect one here in NRX. The other one that a lot of guys have been using is the Baltoro from Raid in the Gladiator Ante. It's the same idea, right? It's just bending through the middle. So look for a rod that has that little bit softer taper. It'll help you all the way around with this. All right, guys, that is a wrap. Hopefully that was insightful and useful and fun. Maybe you could add either the bait or maybe, you know, that Neko technique into your arsenal this winter and catch some fish when they are dialed in on craws. If you have any questions on anything we covered, let me know, drop it down below. Or if you have any other craw techniques that have been working for you in cold water, drop those down below too, because I want to learn something. Teach me, teach all of us, right? Let's share our info. Let's all catch a bunch of fish this winter. So guys, on behalf of myself and Jeff, everybody here at the Hookup Tackle guys, thank you for watching our videos. Thank you for your business, and we will see you again very soon. Peace out, my friends. Cheers.